Side angle.
Side angle. There were two sides, one angle, so we got in trouble. Now, hopefully you started solving the same way I started solving, right? In the sense of you knew angle A was side A, plug and shove. You didn't know angle B, so that was our unknown we put up top. I moved the 12 to the other side. I solved for that decimal. I didn't round. I took, how do I solve for B? Good. I took sine inverse of this decimal, sine inverse to find B. Now, why do I have an or? Here's why. Where is sine positive? Where is sine positive?
Quadrant 2.
Quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. Now, dilemma. What kinds of angles are in quadrant 1? Angles between what and what degrees? 0 and pi over 2, or in degrees 0 and 90. Now, are 0 and 90 angles allowed in triangle? Of course. What angles are in quadrant 2? 90 to 180, pi over 2 to pi. Are 90 to 180 allowed in a triangle? Sometimes, as long as it doesn't go over what? The sum doesn't go over 180. So here we got with sine inverse, we got 21.406, and I just kept solving to get all the other pieces from that one answer. But we have to also check 180 minus theta. Theta you get by doing or using sine inverse, because whenever you have side-side angle, you have to use sine inverse. Sine inverse gets you one option, but remember the ambiguous case might have more than one. So use sine inverse like I did here. Sine inverse at 0.364 ... gets you 21.406 degrees. But you also have to check, could there be another legal angle? Now, when you do 180 minus 21.406, what do you guys get? The other option would be 158 point, what was it, Sean? Now, the question is, all right, do we need to keep going? Are there two possible answers?
Did you get that?
Oh, 180 minus.
Or could you add the angle A to see the result? Because if we know that the property is that all angles add up to 180, what if we added A and B together and forget the 180, would we know that would be impossible?
Yeah, exactly, because what is the one angle that we can't play around with? Oh, same tool, that's all right, fine, whatever. Right. We know 42 has to be true. So does 42 and 21.406 give room for a third angle? Yes. Does 42 and 158.594 give room for another angle?
No.
No, it's over. So is this legal? No. So question, even though this is an SSA and is ambiguous, the math tells us how many solutions are there? One. Meaning one possible triangle with its own angle B, angle C, and side C. But did the second solution work? No, it was illegal. So with the ambiguous case, with pictures, we can actually get sticks and measure them to be 10 centimeters and 4 centimeters and get a protractor, make 20 degrees, and we can see if we can make triangles and how many. We could do this whole thing like cutting out sticks or cutting out pieces of paper. But we don't want to stay with that. We want to use our math to tell us. So the math tells us when you solve for sine inverse, you know it's ambiguous because we never do sine inverse if we have two angles. We only do sine inverse when we're missing one. You need to do sine inverse, like I did with the 21.406, but you also need to check 180 minus and say, could it work? And our answer was no. So what is the only set of solutions for this problem? Yeah, the left-hand side, that's it. But what if this had been possible? All right, keep going. And how many answers would there be? 0. Or, sorry, 2. 2 answers. How would there be 0 answers?
If what we started with wasn't possible.
if sine inverse said error and it wasn't possible to begin with. So the math's going to tell you whether 0, whether 1, whether 2. Now hold on. The book gives you this whole huge chart where it has you actually find the right triangle third side and compare the other side and say, hey, is he shorter? Oh, then he won't make a triangle. Is he a little bit longer so he could have 2? Or is he a lot longer so he only has 1? But do you actually have to memorize any of that? Not if you follow the math. But what does the math say? You need to, when you go to solve the ambiguous case, check not only sine inverse, but what else? 180 minus.
So you check the results always after.
You check the results with the given angle and say, possible? And we said no, so forget it. Don't keep going.
So if one is not right, and then we try the other one. The other one's not right, it's no solution.
If one's right, then one solution. If both are possible, then 2 solutions. Does that make sense? Now, kiddos, I did have some other examples. It was just going to be another ambiguous case, but let me go ahead and just because I know your classmates are trying to focus on their test, we got one good example in. We might do a couple more examples tomorrow. I'll show you guys the homework assignment on your Google Drive that we can write it down in your spiral if you haven't yet. Thank you for your patience with my iPad decided. So tonight, is there a lot that you can do? Oh, for sure. It's going to be easy. And is it going to get to the funny? Nice. The funny ambiguous case? Yeah. What are you going to do? Your best. Come tomorrow with questions on the ambiguous case. I bet we'll go over a couple more examples. Technically, the ambiguous case ones won't be due till Friday. So here we go. Homework number 36, section 6.1. You guys have any extra time to work on it? Or else? People taking my test, technically, you have 5 more minutes. No, 2 more minutes. But I'll let you go a little bit into class. Nutrition.
It's true that second semester is way easier than the first one. That's
Depends
what
on whether or not you like trade.
people told me last year.
Some people like trade. It's not as easy as the second one.
Yeah, Philharmonic. So about college is like, you're gonna love second semester.
I think it makes it's more practical, I guess. Let's do this for a little bit. Alright, let's do this for like you just get to do a lot of different things first semester, then a lot of trade, unit circle, function.
Gotta remember all the chapters. Well,
So that's what you're doing.
makes sense.
Caitlin, there's a note for you. Mrs. Pat just wants to talk to you in the library during nutrition. So that means it's counseling. The ones are the pink ones?
I don't know.
It's a
And I think that helped
But there's another like
me.
Saturday school detention, isn't there? Like
I know I did once. I got one. Just go the other two. It's like this, like giving you a warning.
is it a
Like
yellow
so
one?
much detention.
There's something with Saturday school.
Because I was wearing tights.
I was wearing
How about that?
Yeah, but you know, by the way, I think the transcripts they gave us this year are I used to like the blood. Exactly, that's like a bunch of
Alright,
jackets.
still taking the test. We'll go 5 more minutes. 5. Was it Shane's? It was
I feel like Shane's would be that guy.
It was that guy. Bye-bye. So, I'm like, what? I'll know what you were doing. Brandon is not up there. I have to just go to the library. Does that make sense? If you guys want your notes, they're on the table. Just grab them under there. Part of it's easy. Part of it they like to pull off songs off the end part, and then like the end like starts off pretty. Oh, it should be.
I heard. Like, we didn't finish one for
What are we supposed to be? Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine.
Oh, you can start it, but I didn't even start. I just like went over.
We should have done more questions, but in this I'm like, we just talk through and yeah, keep going.
Oh, so you did approach it or?
I started 5:04, we're gonna finish it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I changed my calendar. I think my goal is to finish 5:47. But I just finished 5:4 that way. I think we just
Okay,
because
cool.
it's just new formulas.
Yeah.
But reviewing the old, so they have to.
Know that.
Yeah.
And then for the
I think I have
memorization thing.
I have it Monday because I figured that.
Oh, okay, it's not Friday.
No.
Okay, because I see that.
Yeah.
I checked the thing, it's still on Friday.
This Johnny flew.
I changed it this morning.
Oh, this morning. Okay, got it. Luca, you guys got a goal.
I know! And it was from midfield! It was crazy.